Hi guys. If you've watched the other two videos, yes, I filmed these all in a row. So I'm just gonna start doing this of just like sit down and knock out like 3 or 4 videos so I can actually have content to post. So here we go. Let's dive in. How to write in your customer's voice. Now, this is the hardest thing that I think any copywriter will come across, or business owner who writes their own copy, which I hope that there's a few of you here. It's very hard to get inside the mind of someone else. It requires empathy and research and a true understanding of who a person is and where they're coming from. So there's 2 areas of understanding target markets and people. And understanding them both will help you write really good copy, hopefully. And of course, copy takes practice. Nailing it right out the gate, tough. Unless you're a person who has very good empathy and can put yourself in someone else's shoes very quickly, those people tend to write really well, really quick. So there are, and I'm probably going to get these terms wrong. It's been a long time since I've taken Marketing 101, but demographics, and I think it's psychographics. So demographics are someone's very basic, they're a female, their age gap, married, single, that kind of things. Married, father of 3, 45 years old, employed, job. You know, like the things that are very, very surface level, which a lot of people market to. And that's where they miss the step so entirely, because you cannot often in today's world market to people based on those kinds of things. Like, which is what a lot of older copywriters did back in the day, which is why studying a lot of those old ads, in my experience, didn't bring me any value. Like the Marlboro Man, the like chain smoker, like manly man of like a lot of marketing in the past is very outdated in today's world, because so many of us have so many interests and things that we like to do outside of our gender, of our age, of our lifestyle, that marketing just on those things is going to miss the mark, and it's usually going to be very shallow. Now, don't get me wrong, tons of companies succeed in this. Off the top of my head, Cosmo magazine, is that still a thing? Markets to a very like, hey ladies, girl power, girl boss, blah, like that kind of shallow level marketing of just mass marketing to someone's demographic. Yeah. Which, I mean, there's a lot of nuances in there, but let's just keep it like very general so you guys can follow along. And then there are psychographics, which I'm pretty sure they're called. And these are people's belief systems, and not just their religion. I mean, how they view the world. Are they optimistic or are they pessimistic? Are they self-reliant? Are they go-getters? Are they into serenity and zen? Are the little bit stuff that you have to really dig a lot deeper to find out about someone. This over here, and I'm just going to start pointing this side. This side is stuff that, let's say you're on a dating app, because copywriting is dating, period. They're the same thing. This is everything that you can garner from somebody's profile. Their age, their sex, their location, their job. Okay, it's like all the very surfacey stuff that's not really going to get somebody really involved in you, or aka buying their product. So, but over here is like, okay, date number 7. What you know about this person by date number 7, which is what you have to do as a copywriter to get from here to there and really get into their mind and what they care about, right? So, and I'm very happy to see that a lot of marketers have caught on to this. They've moved forward. They have progressed in this area because, like, for example, as a 30-year-old woman, a lot of marketing that markets to me in my demographic, which is fair because a lot of people fall under these, like, umbrellas, which is why a lot of companies don't give a shit about this other area, because they're like, we're fine. So, but over here is like, okay, I'm a 30-year-old unmarried woman. So I did a lot of ads based on childcare, on getting married, on whatever the hell they think that I care about as a 30-year-old woman, right? Which is fine. And like, don't get me wrong, a lot of companies just focusing on this will care. Now, I know a lot of this is very nuanced and it takes a long time to really get into it. And if you really look at the products that you personally identify with and you love and you buy all the time, and you're like, why do I only buy this all the time? Like, you'll start to uncover these layers. So that's a thing. Watch your own buying habits, especially stuff that you're like, why did I buy this? Like, I love it, but the sales page came up and I just bought it instantly. I didn't even think about it. Oopsie daisy. What are they doing in your brain, right? Like, if you were just a 20-year-old man, I doubt that it's just that they're marketing to you based on you being a 20-year-old man. They're playing into this area, which is your belief systems, your values, and how you see the world, which is very subtle and very hard as a copywriter, because especially if you're not in it and you've got to research it and determine the two, it's tough. It's tough. And it takes a lot of research, which is why Reddit, Twitter, and Amazon reviews are gold mines for getting people's information and their deep thoughts. So let's break it down into real world examples, right? And first of all, when you look at most copy on websites, especially huge companies, their copy is very simple. This is key. Look up The Honest Company. Look up Dropbox. Look up Google. Look up Crayola. Very simple copy, very clear, and very to the point. I mean, don't forget, Nike has made billions of dollars based on just do it. Just do it. 3 words. That's it. Copy doesn't have to be complicated. If you're trying to make it complicated, you're doing it wrong. Unless you're in a very specialized industry and you're, let's say, selling a program from lawyers to lawyers that is very specialized and it has to be fancy and it's got to be complicated. If you're selling to consumers, mass market, general thing, but even still, keeping that, you don't need things to be fancy. You don't need things to be complicated. So anyway, let's break down some real life examples, right? So if we looked at some real world examples, now this is all very general and there's a lot of reasons that a lot of companies succeed, not just the copy, as much as I wish that was the case. I mean, don't get me wrong. A lot of companies have done very well with copywriting can add a good 10 to 20% of help on top of it. But let's look at a company like Apple, right? Apple has succeeded, and they're just computers, right? They're just, as I talked into my iPhone, they are just, it's just a bunch of metal parts sewn together to, communicate with the world, take pictures, whatever it is, and you can argue over the little specs of the camera quality and like whatever you want to argue about, the little nuances here and there. But if you looked at Apple's copy, they are targeting people who are artists and dreamers and people who are pursuing their passions. Like everyone when I was growing up, because they were so expensive, when someone started getting an iPod, even, right? The first kids who had an iPod were the kids I knew who had 800,000 million albums at home. They were the music kids. They needed that much music on the go. They were artists. And if you look back at a lot of Apple copy throughout the 90s and into the early 2000s, it played heavily on that, right? There was like the famous one with the little white headphones and the people were blacked out, but they were dancing. It was young, artist, creative. Like if you had an iPhone, you were following your passions and this device was helping you. Do you see how this is different than, I don't know, Microsoft is like, And that's where a lot of like divides started to come in the two. Now, of course, some computer experts will come in the comments and like roast me on like the actual specs of the two, and that's fine. Go for it. This is how I'm talking about copywriting. I'm not talking about like the business logistics of how these companies ran. Microsoft didn't do such a thing, right? Microsoft kind of ran with the like, we work in business angles, and their copy reflected that. And great. It's not like one's better or worse than the other, but at the end of the day, they're both just computers that help you get things done, right? But, and that's a very big example, but it's something that I think a lot of people have like had experience with, and they play with, and they kind of know. And Apple's marketing has changed a lot through like more recent years, so that's different. I'm talking about back in the day, and if you're my age or older, you kind of remember and understand that. Now, even if I look at things like Molstein notebooks and Leuchtturms, whatever the hell that word is. I think it's German, whatever. Are just notebooks. Like, you can get a notebook anywhere for just like, I didn't give a password out or anything. Nope. For like a few dollars, you can get a notebook anywhere, right? And you can argue about quality of the notebooks throughout the years, but they market they market their notebooks to people who are writers, or who are going to be, or who are working on a good idea. And it's such a different, subtle, like, it's not just like, oh, you're a person with a writing degree, that's nice. It's like, hey, you have this creative idea, and like with that notebook, like, you walking around with that, like, someone's gonna tell you, like, someone's gonna know that this says up to the world that you are a writer, you're an artist, like, this is your broadcasting to the world. You just need to get into what people value more than anything, and that kind of copy will create rabid fans because they get it, right? When I log on to Instagram and I see companies that advertise to me just being a 30-year-old woman, they're missing the mark. They're not realizing what I'm buying into. They're like, oh, you're a 30-year-old, you must love yoga and deep breathing and water and body positivity, and they just, and I can see it, and I'm like, wow, you missed the mark there on me. And hopefully that made sense. Like, if you're selling something in the baby industry, you're not just selling it to them because they're a mom. Like, people are deeper than just their labels, which is the cheesiest thing I think I've ever said. But, like, that's why the Honest Company came in and took a giant chunk bite out of the baby industry, which was a very hard industry to break into. Yes, you can argue Jessica Alba had some celebrity, sure, but they've played heavily on the value of raising and caring for a baby in the healthiest way possible, right? And that is a value that moms will die for. So if you can play on these kinds of values, you can sneak into industries in a way that when you have copy that can do that, boy, you will never have a problem selling anything ever as long as you shall live, when you really can get to the nitty-gritty of what people value. Like, if you were selling, and I know this because I'm working with a client who's in this industry right now, well, mentee, but client, because that sounds weird, who's in the education industry, and I'm like, listen, you can't just sell it to people because their parents are teachers, which, like, he knows, he's very, very smart. And I'm like, what they value is their child succeeding in life, right? Like, that is the value. And when you can tap into what people value and what they will go crazy for, which Ashley Amberger, my favorite copywriter, calls the wake up sweaty test. What do people wake up sweaty about? And, it's like bills, finances, are my kids okay? It's, if you were selling a fitness product for brides to be, it's not that they're gonna look good on their wedding day. Like, yeah, that's a thing, but like, these are pictures that are gonna last for their entire lifetime, and they don't want them to look ridiculous, and their entire family and friends are gonna be there, and they want to look like the beautiful Instagram bride that they want to be. And you need to tap into that, not just like get fit for your wedding, but like have your pictures last a lifetime on Instagram and look whatever, however you want the words to be. But just that subtle shift in language makes people say, you get me. Oh my God, you finally get what I care about. And people will go absolutely nuts, batty crazy for companies that they think get them, which is crazy. I know we all need help because this is consumer driven society. This is not the moral argument of that. This is just a fact that if you're writing copy, that's what you need to do. So that's it. Go out there and tap into what people care about, and boy, you will have rabid fans forever. Okay. I mean, just like, if you're here, you care about writing without the bullshit. Like, that's why you're here. If you're here watching my content, you want, I mean, I talk forever, but I try and get to the really nitty gritty down below of just like, hey, this is what you need to do. No bullshit, no other buy-ons or add-ons, and anything I ever sell is going to be just like a complimentary to the advice I already give on this channel. Not like, you can't have the secret until you buy this, because that's insane. Anyway, I think that's pretty much it. Hopefully that made sense. If not, you know what? That's fine. Bye, guys.